Kevin Nash had an interesting discussion on his Click This podcast, and I'm going to play the clip. This is in response to Kevin Nash talking about the recent cuts at WWE and more specifically restructuring contracts, while at the same time we are seeing the executive compensation packages for the last year, and led by Ari Emanuel, who saw a increase in his assets for the year, taking in about $68 million.
This could be one of those times where this whole 1099 thing finally fucking just, it's not this, take it out of the fucking back of the come on, bring the folders out, bring them all out, go to SAG, get a bunch of guys together, take one of the programs that's written down, and you tell me that program isn't more heavily written and more produced than the Curb Your Enthusiasm was when all those actors that went on that show got SAG pay.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys go and see if you can get unionized, go through Screen Actors Guild. They'll be more than happy to take their fucking cut of your money. It won't be 50%, but it'll change the ball game. You can't have it both ways. You can't play Endeavor at the fucking top with the 300% increases and fucking 1099 the dock workers that are fucking Brad Pitt and fucking Pacino. Can't do both.
You can't do both. And yes, not to be confused with the Robert De Niro of professional wrestling, Bret Hart. Right. So he makes an argument that I think a lot of people are, at least, in these types of, cuts, restructurings, this topic, it comes up every now and then. It does feel like right now is one of those, pauses, if it really leads to anything. But I'm just going to recap that in the past month, we, first of all, saw these executive compensation packages where the top executives are making about the same as the entire talent roster for the last year. We reported on the site how in 2022, WWE paid out 15% of revenue to its talent. That was when, in 2022, the company brought in $1.29 billion. Since 2022, their revenues have grown 35%. I can guarantee you that the talent has not seen their pay increase 35% at the same rate. So it's probably a lot lower of a percentage of late. Number two was going to WrestleMania, where not only did we, of course, see a gigantic ad load and all of this new record sponsorship, we also had talent that many of whom cited their own personal safety being at risk that weekend on multiple occasions and being followed and being swarmed by people. And those are of the people that were willing to be public about what they went through. Then we had Kevin Nash speaking about the lack of care he received at the Hall of Fame, doing like a 9-hour day at the Hall of Fame ceremony where they were not even given catering for the day and having to stay there. We come out of WrestleMania, which was, despite however you want to color this event, an enormous profitable event for the company, and we get the post-WrestleMania cuts, an inordinate amount of them, numbering on about 30, restructuring of contracts where some people have to take 50% pay cuts. By the way, we're also going to Saudi Arabia at the end of June, where there is a war going on in the Middle East. And are we sitting down with the Players Association to talk about how this is going to go? No, it's a decision that is made. And for anyone that is complaining about any of this, the one industry in combat sports where there are these rights and protections, we're pushing for the Ali Revival Act to strip those protections away. All these things are happening at once. And I think if you are following all these different stories, and it all just points toward like these two areas of TKO's business, UFC and WWE, that their command and control of its talent is unprecedented, and they're trying to do the exact same in boxing. And you have a lot of these fighters and promoters that are totally asleep at the wheel, not understanding what they are entering into when it comes to, like, this will be the structure for Zuffa boxing on top of it. You might be muted.
Sorry about that. I mean, I feel like the fact that wrestling is unlikely to ever change this about itself is probably part of the reason why TKO found this company so attractive. So
It is.
They found this such an attractive business to be a part of. You know, we don't have to deal with unions. We don't have to. We can control any sort of like attempt at a union by simply no longer using that wrestler. No single entity, no single wrestler will ever be powerful enough to I don't know, maybe to get TKO to cave. Yeah, I personally don't think so. I think you look at the top of the card, Roman Reigns. If somehow he decides to do this, I think they'll just let him go. The idea of like a group of wrestlers choosing to band together to do it in a profession where you have to essentially play nice in order to get promoted and to be positioned in a starring role, I don't think will ever happen. Not in the WWE.
I would love to disagree with you, but it's really hard to imagine like that kind of organization being explored. You would love to see it, but it's just to me not going to be a reality. But it's just you look at all of these situations, and it's like at the end of the day, we have these contracts that are as relevant as the paper that they are written on when it comes to your job security. Ultimately, like you are putting your trust, and if there is a need, they will restructure your contract. And for many, it's listen, I can't just go like. If you're in a position of the New Day that can walk away, that's great. But a lot of people are not going to be in that position to walk away, that even a reduced salary is better than going like back to the independents or taking a shot that you might be able to work somewhere else. Like that's a very scary thing to face if you're a performer. And, if you're told, hey, I'm making $1 million and we're going to cut it to 500,000. So some people are going to take that. It's shitty business, but that's sort of, there should be protections that you don't have to make that decision midway through a contract. But that's where you're at. They are not going to have your best interest in mind because, frankly, these talents have not had their best collective interests in mind, and this is where we are.
Is there any level of public pressure as the audience may eventually someday become a lot more aware, a lot more educated about these things and be concerned about these things? Is there any level of public pressure that would force any level of change?
Not from, I don't think it's going to be from the public. In fact, I think you would see a really spirited campaign the opposite way that, hey, if we had to start, if a union began, we would have to increase our prices that much more. And you, the fan, you should be applauding the fact that we don't have to deal with a union, because if we do, we're going to make that money back somewhere, and it's going to be off of you. It's not always great for the fan. Like the chance, like that's another asset is that WWE, they can go to their broadcasters and say, hey, when we sign this 5-year deal, you don't have to worry about a work stoppage from us. That's not going to happen. You don't have to worry about a worldwide pandemic. We will deliver a show to you every single week. We don't have this obstacle of an association to have to negotiate with. We don't have to worry about, like, imagine if there was a collective of wrestlers that had some representation, and it's like, we are not comfortable going to Saudi Arabia when there was bombing going on there not that long ago. There's an ongoing war, and we do not feel comfortable doing this. But that's a $55 million cost for WWE in a year when they are projecting that $55 million. And it's going to be a huge part of their quarter. So it's a very easy choice to make if you are TKO. But for the talent, it's like, it's not as though you're being paid more to go there. It's just, it's expected of what it says on your contract to fulfill this date. But when the shoe's on the other foot and what's on the contract is you honoring the length of this contract, well, then it's only written in pencil.
Yeah. Yeah. Until a talent is able to negotiate that into their contract when they sign it, the fact that like, they have a no-cut clause or something, to that extent. why would TKO ever change anything?
Oh, TKO is like, you can only blame TKO so much in that if they are not forced to change, why would they out of their own, the goodness of their heart? Like it would take a group, and it would take like all of your main event guys basically to organize and stand still and in unity with one another. Like again, they're going to make over 1.7 billion. That's just the WWE side this year. And like whatever you want to believe WWE talent are worth, like 50%, maybe you don't believe that, but you can't tell me it's 15% of that amount is what the talent are owed. And that's what they're leaving on the table. But that's where we are. And it might be too far in the game that you will ever be able to get to a position where this is any kind of reality. But I still found it an interesting discussion for a guy in Kevin Nash who like has ties to WWE, but he's also not biting his tongue on this subject.
Yeah, including one of his, better friends in Paul Levesque being an executive, having direct influence over a lot of this stuff. Do you think, last question, do you think it's more likely, if it ever occurs, is there perhaps more momentum towards change in professional wrestling than there is in MMA or vice versa? Or are they about the same?
I think they're similar. There was a time a few years ago I would have certainly leaned more toward MMA. It just seemed like there were more people pushing for this. But I think a lot of situations, like I've seen like with Leslie Smith, who tried to get something going, and what she got was very little support, even anonymous support where your name wouldn't be revealed. And then she's cut by the UFC. Her contract was up. They didn't renew it, but she was on a win streak. So like that alone was a chilling enough effect for many people. And yeah, I can't say either is in any kind of stronger position over the other at this point. You generally get more like UFC fighters, they will bring up pay in public and complain about it, whereas that just does not happen in WWE. I think your talent, like you're not going to have talent openly talking about having a percentage of the television deal. Like there was a time CM Punk brought up a lot of these topics, but that's not happening today, and I don't think anyone else would be either. At least you will get some of that from UFC fighters.
If the Post Wrestling Cafe were to undergo a drug test in the month of May, we would be testing positive because we are overloaded with content. We are going to be reviewing Hulk Hogan, Real American, all 4 episodes this month. Plus, we will go inside the Manosphere with a review of the latest Louis Theroux documentary. We will also have coverage of the Ronda Rousey-Gina Carano fight, also taking place on Netflix. Rewind Away tackles WCW Super Brawl 2, and we cover NXT TakeOver Brooklyn from 2015. All that, plus all of the XL editions on a weekly basis, Collision Course, Daredevil Born Again, and so much more. It can all be yours at postwrestlingcafe.com. $8 gets you in the door.